relate to spending or appropriations for cancer and brain tumor related programs. It's a battle of where to cut and where to spend. And of course, we know that more medical research funding and faster, more efficient drug development are really important to ultimately advancing from the clinic, or for advancing from lab to clinic, clinic to patient, and then ultimately finding treatments that are effective. So the other distinctive feature of this Congress, which is different from past years, is we've seen more medical research related legislation and more drug development related legislation than usual. There's been a significant initiative in Congress to accelerate what the FDA is doing, accelerate drug approvals. And there's also been a rise in legislation to find stable funding streams for the National Institutes of Health and National Cancer Institute. And those are create an interesting environment for what we're saying. But a lot of this stuff is happening on a bipartisan basis. Some yes, some not, but a lot is. And it creates a very ripe environment at this time for us to be on Capitol Hill on May 5th. We're coming in at a great time to make a difference. So what the next slide is really around what influences elected officials. And the reason we put this slide up is just to underscore the value of you being there. And the data bears out the fact that you being there in person really matters. When you look at surveys of members of Congress and their staff, and you know what's going to influence decision making, it's constituents visiting directly with elected officials. It's being there in person. It's making that contact. And so your investment of time, money, and your story makes a difference, and the data bears that out. So once again, thank you for doing that.
Thank you, David. I appreciate that. We'll just talk about some logistics now as far as preparing for Head of the Hill. Just some simple things, what to wear. DC is full of very fancy, slicked flooring inside and out, and the weather conditions obviously aren't up to us. So we recommend wearing comfortable shoes. There's quite a bit of walking in between the buildings and outside, so that's definitely a preferred way to go. Many people who have come to Head of the Hill often say that's one of their biggest lessons learned, is not wearing comfortable enough shoes. So we definitely recommend that. With regards to attire, business casual for the meetings, we will also provide everybody, when you registered for Head of the Hill, you might remember you selected a t-shirt size. We will have t-shirts on hand, as well as some extra t-shirts should the size not be appropriate for you. So
just this, David, just a note on that. Like, if you haven't done this before, what some people do is they may have their pants, and then they may have a blazer and wear their t-shirt either over a shirt or a t-shirt underneath the blazer in some way. So there is a way to combine the business casual with the t-shirt, and bring it all, and we'll help you figure out your attire once you get there if you haven't done this before. But don't it's not something to worry about too much.
That's great. Also, other things to bring to Head of the Hill. As I said, the weather is not up to us, so I would definitely bring an umbrella. It's a long day. I bring a cell phone and a power cord. We will have a building reserved for our sort of planning headquarters at the United Methodist Building, which is right in the area close to the Capitol. Of course, they have outlets there, and then in the buildings you'll be in as well if you need a power up. You want to bring photos of loved ones, people that have been affected by brain tumors. As David said, this is your story you're telling congressional leaders. So, bring these photos that creates that human connection between, the legislation. And of course, your voice. You guys are all bringing that. You've all committed to coming to Head of the Hill. So that's the easiest one to bring, and then we'll give you all the tools to learn how to use that voice effectively. Some of the things we'll provide is all your meeting materials, folders, We have some great bags that advocates in the past have loved and requested, so we'll be bringing those back with the National Brain Tumor Society branding and name tags, and we'll also provide buttons for everyone as well. Preparing for Head of the Hill. Some important things to do, of course, are learn the issues. As we get closer to the day, we will be sending out fact sheets on the issues. We ask that you please read them, learn the issues, and we're here if you have any questions. David will provide a brief overview of the issues in just a little bit here. Part of being a good advocate is showing up educated and ready to persuade your members of Congress. During the training day, we'll certainly help you learn how to best communicate the issues and be persuasive during your meetings. But obviously, it'd be great to do some homework on the issues and be knowledgeable about them. Also, if you don't already know who they are, look up your legislators. You can do that on the websites there posted, house.gov and senate.gov. It helps to have some background information to give you a sense of where he or she is from in your state, background on what issues are of most concern to them. On both websites, you'll be able to find a menu in the upper right-hand corner that says, find your senator or representative, and just type in your information there. And the one thing we want to ask you to do is really think about your brain tumor connection. Whether it is your story as a survivor, a caregiver, a loved one, a medical professional who has experience with brain tumors. Remember about the experience of patients with brain tumors is what we want to share with our congressional leaders, and be able to connect the dots for your members of Congress about why these policy issues matter to our community and are crucial to our community. Congress hears about many diseases, and it is our job, as David was mentioning earlier, to bring the brain tumor community, the brain tumor perspective, and shed light on it so we can gain their support for these critical issues moving forward. During Head of the Hill, we'll give you a quick look at the schedule here. On Monday, May 4th, we will have a breakfast at 8 a.m. As you can see, all activities will take place at the Holiday Inn Washington Capitol Hotel. The address is there, and then also all information is on our website. So breakfast will be at 8 a.m. Advocacy training is all day, 9 to 4:30. There will be a 1-hour lunch break in there, and breaks as well. So, don't worry, you're not sitting there for 8 hours straight. And then following the advocacy training, we will have a advocates reception, as well as in the Holiday Inn Hotel. We'd ask people, try and get there. If you're not going to be there for breakfast at 8 a.m., try and arrive, 15, if you can, 30 minutes early to allow time to check in. The earlier the better. Staff will be on hand, so we'll want to get people checked in and seated, and people will want to conversate and meet with their respective state groups. So the earlier the better for arriving, and feel free to join us for breakfast. All right, so at the advocacy training, some key things we're going to learn are, meet with other advocates from your state. We're going to learn about the priority issues that we were asking Congress to support. We're going to learn how to have an effective meeting with congressional offices. We'll get lots of practice time. This was feedback that we got from last year, that more practice time with groups would be great. So we expanded training for this year to allow for that. So you'll get about 2 hours or so of practice time in the afternoon with your groups. We'll also hear from Christopher Cush, who is the CEO of Soapbox Consulting. They schedule all of our meetings for us, and they have a really handy app that he'll teach you about how to use throughout the day that'll have all your meetings on it and be updated throughout the day. So we advise people, to pay attention during that, because that's a very handy tool to have throughout the day. You'll receive those schedules, a printed one as well as on the app. Of course, you'll be able to ask questions of National Brain Tumor Society staff, along with our advocacy team. We'll also have our key researchers down there with us, some marketing folks, So, I know many people enjoy interacting with our staff and asking various questions. So we encourage everyone to do that throughout the day, and then particularly at the reception. And then, of course, we'll hand out all of your participant materials for the next day. All right, for the second day, Tuesday, May 5th, the big day, when we go to the Hill and share our stories, use our voices. Breakfast is going to start at 7 a.m. That's a typo there. It should be Holiday Inn Hotel. But we'll start breakfast at 7, and then we will have buses that take us from the hotel down to the United Methodist building for people to drop off any luggage or anything like that you may have, as many of you will be checking out the day of May 5th. So we will have buses. Those will transport us down. It's just about a mile from the hotel to Capitol Hill. And then at 9 a.m., we'll all group for a picture on the steps of the Capitol. And then from 9:30 to 5, it's congressional meetings. And you'll go off in your groups, and those who will have chaperones will be escorted around and get to share our voices.
Just added this, David, just an added note on that. Once you get your schedule for Tuesday's visits, there are times when you'll have gaps between your meetings, and those are good times to grab coffee with the other people from your state to get to know the Capitol area. And we'll talk more about how to do time management at the training itself. But because the final schedules for all the visits, we get sort of a final one on by Monday, but then because schedules amongst the congressional offices themselves change a little bit on Monday during the day, we usually get about 20% of the meetings that shift in terms of their time during Monday. And so then you'll get a final schedule by the end of the day on Monday, and then you'll know where do you have meetings back to back versus meetings that are spaced out. And we'll help you figure out what to do with those kinds of situations. So lots of coaches will be there.
That's great. It's really helpful. Here's a map of where we'll be, the Hill and respective congressional buildings. The one thing that I want to point out here is our home base, as we call it, the United Methodist building, which is that red arrow there just off to the center of the map, just to the right, the southeast of the Capitol. That's where we'll be based. As David mentioned, when we might have lags of time, that might be opportunity to go back there and fill out some feedback forms that we'll have on hand and regroup with your team and prepare for your next meeting. So this just gives a good idea of how close in proximity everything is and how close our home base is to Capitol Hill. All right, during Head of the Hill, your meetings, we're going to go over group roles, group spokesperson, brain tumor facts, storyteller, and the note taker. And David, do you want to provide just a little more information on those roles?
Sure, absolutely. And we'll be going over this again in the training, but this is about the choreography of meeting with members of Congress and their staff in groups that you want to, as a group, work as a team. And so each team from each state will, as you go to, say, a member of Congress's office, one person will be the group spokesperson, and they'll be responsible for introducing you as the party, much like you would introduce your party when you walk into a restaurant for a group dinner. Hi, we're here with the Aaron's party or whatever, but you're here with National Brain Tumor Society. Someone else, or maybe a couple other people, will be more responsible for knowing the facts and figures, and we're going to have facts and figure sheets just to be able to educate congressional staff about the fact that brain tumors there's about 700,000 Americans living with a brain tumor today. Brain tumors makes up, there's at least 120 types of brain tumors, that it's the leading cause of cancer, death, and children under the age of 14, just to know kind of some basic stats and facts. And then 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 people to be storytellers, to share your brain tumor connection story. Maybe everyone will get a chance to do that. We'll talk about how meetings go, whether a meeting is short, long, what to do. And someone, of course, to take notes and to keep track of what was said in a meeting, what were the conclusions of the meeting, because ultimately we want to know if this member of Congress is going to support our issues. So we want to track what happens, the outcomes of these meetings. There's a real purpose here. So that leads to the next slide, which is, what are we asking Congress to do? Well, there are many things we would like Congress to do to help the brain tumor community. There's, like I said, there's a lot of legislation out there that has the potential to help. But in an advocacy day, we need to be focused because the members of Congress and their staff are not going to, if we walk in and we say there's 14 things we'd like you to do, they're going to tune us out. What they want us to do is prioritize and to bring certain issues right to the top. And so that's what this is about, is picking a few issues to put some extra priority on at this time. One of the priorities is, and this has been the same issue every year, is more money for the largest funder of brain tumor research in the country, if not the world. That's the National Institutes of Health, including the National Cancer Institute. They just pump out more in grant money and in project money than any other source of revenue there is. They put out more money in brain tumor research than all of us in philanthropy combined. And so the more amount of money that these agencies get, the more likely some of that money we put into brain tumors. And so you might ask, why don't we try to pass legislation to earmark or order these agencies to spend more in brain tumor research? That's been tried. The agencies don't take kindly to that. And so the cancer community works very well together, trying to increase the pizza pie. And then what we do is we work with the agencies themselves on particular brain tumor related programs and projects. And so I'll just give you an example. Last year, we worked very closely with the National Cancer Institute to gain their support for putting more dollars into a pediatric brain tumor related genomics clinical trial. And they're doing that. We asked the NCI internally to spend more time on improving brain tumor related clinical trials. They're doing that. But from a legislative or congressional perspective, our ask at Head to the Hill is for Congress to give the whole NCI more money and the whole NIH more money. And that will in turn help brain tumor funding. And we'll also ask for more money for the FDA, because if the FDA doesn't have enough resources, then it's not going to have enough to review all the brain tumor drug approval proposals in there. Our second ask is also related to funding, but it's a bit different. It's very focused on asking for inclusion of pediatric brain tumors to be a research topic eligible for funding in the Defense Department's peer-reviewed cancer research program. So you might say, wait a minute, are you saying the Defense Department, of all things, funds cancer research? Yes, not well known, but it sure does. And since 2009, a little-known program called the Peer-Reviewed Cancer Research Program within the Department of Defense has been funding pediatric brain tumor-related research. And what we need to do is speak up to make sure Congress continues to add pediatric brain tumors among the research topics in that program. It has to be spoken up for every year. So we're asking for this to be included in there as one of the topics because it's been in there in the past. Third is And if you take 1 and 2, these are 2 research funding related issues. But then our third ask is not about research funding. It's about making sure that patients are able to access the medicines they need to stay alive in a more affordable way. And this is an issue we've covered in the last few years called oral chemotherapy parity. Problem is that private health insurance has been treating pill form chemotherapy over in that pharmacy benefit area and charging high out-of-pocket costs, whereas typically intravenous chemotherapy is covered under the medical benefit of insurance, and then it's a small doctor's visit copay. Brain tumor patients don't really have a choice because the standard of care chemotherapy, Temodar, or temozolomide, the generic name, it comes in generally pill form. Doctors don't want to put people on an IV because they're generally pretty sick. So pill form chemotherapy is the must-take form of chemotherapy for brain tumors. It must be affordable. Health insurance needs to be modernized to make sure that it has out-of-pocket costs that are affordable. There's a couple bills that have not yet been introduced, but they're the same bills as last year that would make sure that pill form chemotherapy is covered the same way that intravenous is. And we're asking Congress to support that legislation once again. Now, some might say, well, jeepers, we've been at this for 3 years now. Where's the progress? This is hefty legislation. This is legislation that's going to take persistence over the years to get done because Congress has not wanted to do a lot on health insurance over the last 2 years because it's wanted to see how the Affordable Care Act was going to work. But what we know is that the Affordable Care Act is not making oral chemotherapy for brain tumor patients more affordable in certain situations. So we need a new federal law to make sure that we get the job done. So we have to bring this issue back year in and year out until we make sure that every brain tumor patient today can afford the medication they need to stay alive. And what we know is that future brain tumor medications are going to come out in pill form. So if we don't fix the problem now, it's going to get bigger in the future as more drugs get approved. So it's our job to get this done, to stay at it, be persistent, and to fight the good fight. And so these are the 3 issues we're fighting for. We'll be doing a lot of training about them. We'll make sure you have a command of the issue, a command of how to talk about it, and a command of how to be persuasive, because that's what we're trying to do, is educate and persuade when we're on Capitol Hill. As part of your request for support, you'll share your personal stories in 1 minute or less about why these issues matter to you. So start thinking about these issues and how you can relate to your experience to them. For example, if only research had discovered a new way to tackle astrocytomas or glioblastomas, that would have been a big help when your loved one was faced by a brain tumor, or whether you're facing a brain tumor today. How could health insurance be improved to make sure that your friend, your loved one, can better afford the medicine they must take to stay alive? So these issues matter at the personal level, at the community level. And that's what we're here to do, is bring it home. All politics is local, as Tip O'Neill used to say. So are we back to Tyler here, or we have a limited amount of time, so we're going to just, in these meetings, stay on our legislative agenda. One of the things we don't do in these meetings is bring up other legislative issues. We have to stay really focused on our agenda, even if other issues from other organizations or in your own mind are important. We have to stay on our legislative agenda. The other thing is, this is a nonpartisan event. We're not Republicans or Democrats or independents or socialists or whatever other party. We're a nonpartisan organization. We're here about one thing, and that's the brain tumor community, and bringing our message and this agenda to all members of Congress. So I'm going to turn it back to Tyler, and we're going to talk about how we create a presence on Capitol Hill so that people know that we're there and they remember us and we're well identified. And when we get there, we're distinct from other causes.
Thank you, David. Yeah, as David mentioned, we want to create this presence on Capitol Hill, distinguish ourselves. That the community, that people know the larger brain tumor community, it's come from across the country and knows why we're there. We'll provide you, as I mentioned earlier, with sort of all the branding for Head of the Hill that you need, so everyone knows who you're a part of, buttons and t-shirts and other materials that you can show members and staff while you're in your meetings, and as well as anyone you see passing in the hallway. You might even have some extra materials you can share with some folks. In addition, make sure that you take pictures and video of your experiences so we can spread the word. We'll provide some social media training the day of on May 4th, and you'll learn how to use both the Soapbox app and how to engage with us on social media and share your experiences. And you'll do that, through Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We encourage those that blog to blog about this experience. You can mention the congressional leaders who you had meetings with in there. That's all the better. Some things to know moving forward with Capitol Hill logistics. There are obviously a lot of security apparatuses in Washington, D.C. So, try and get to your meetings a little early if your schedule allows for it. There are security lines and metal detectors going through all government buildings. So be wary of that and allow extra time for that. You will be equipped with a map, as I showed you earlier, that'll guide you. Your meetings will tell you exactly your meeting sheet, will tell you exactly what building and room number you need to be in. And then you can use the map to guide you. You'll see Capitol Police Department in all the buildings. Always feel free to seek them out and ask for directions. They're intimidating, but very friendly. So they like to help people. That's what part of their job is there to do. So we encourage you to ask anyone around the halls as well. Your meeting schedules, we do ask that you be flexible. As I stated earlier, your schedules won't change drastically on Tuesday the 5th, but there could be changes. Meetings move to earlier or later. So again, you'll learn about that app and how to stay in tune to that. So just maintain your flexibility and be on time, of course. As I recommended, I would recommend getting to meetings early, if at all possible, just so you don't have to worry and rush to them. So after your meetings, we'll send thank you notes to each office that you visited. We'll provide these materials at the United Methodist Building. When we all come back, we'll also provide a report back form where you can tell us about your meeting and what result, who'd you meet with, and what answers were provided, if any. And then also we'll send out, after Head of the Hill, an evaluation form online where you can tell us about the event and give us some feedback. What we need from you, really just one thing. If you have any special considerations, you need a handicap accessible room, certain number of beds if you're in the Holiday Inn. We do have a limited number of scooters that we reserve. They're medical grade scooters that'll be available at Holiday Inn. If you feel like you would need one of those on the day of the 5th, getting around to your meetings, please let us know. Any sort of food allergies, or considerations, vegan, gluten, vegetarian, anything like that, please feel free to contact us and let us know. That's my contact information there, Tyler Gately. There's my email and phone. For those who are not on the webinar visually, just on the phone, it's tgately, TGATELY, at braintumor.org. And my phone is 617-612-6661. And now we still have about 20-25 minutes for a question. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for now, and we'll look at chat. And as of now, we do not have any questions. So if anyone would like to ask questions, please feel free to chat them now. I'll give you just a minute to do that in case you're brainstorming and trying to think of a good one. Okay, we got a question from Sean. Sean asked, if we were traveling by car and parking at the Holiday Inn, can we leave our car and come back to it at the end of the day, Tuesday? There is a parking garage underneath the Holiday Inn. It is not owned by the Holiday Inn, so there would be an overnight rate for that, but surely you could park it there and have it overnight, and I mean multiple days should not be an issue at all. I hope that answers your question, Sean. Chris asked, will we be contacted by our state lead advocate prior to the event? Yes, you will, Chris. The state leads will send a email out to the people in their state. Assuming that your state has a state lead advocate, you will receive an email from them on how to connect with them prior to Head of the Hill. Can you please mention Head of the Hill team for Race for Hope? Yes, we do have a, that's from Tama. Thank you, Tama. We do have a Head of the Hill team for Race for Hope. In all the email communications that we sent, the link to sign up for that team has been in there. So we would encourage all of you who are coming for Race for Hope, DC, to join that team. Thank you very much for doing that, Tama. From Brian, is there any information available to track past Department of Defense funding of pediatric funding and how the Congressional votes?
Yes, we'll provide that information at the training. So here's a story for you. If nobody else has questions, a short story of a great example of an advocate. Sandy Perkins from Arizona has been to Head to the Hill several times, and then recently went back home and met with her Congressman Matt Salmon. And what I understand now is that Congressman Salmon really wants to try to increase funding for research, and I think it's because Congressman Salmon has heard from Sandy in Washington, back home in Arizona, and she's brought this member of Congress along throughout the last 3 years to the point where he really wants to make a difference. And so it's just a great example of how the advocate has built the relationship. The relationship is now turning into interest, and from interest to action on behalf of our cause. So everything you're doing is going to add up. And I always think of Sandy's leadership and example as evidence that this pays off. Looks like we have another question.
From Elizabeth, do you have a total count from each state? We do have that. I don't have that in front of me, so I apologize, but you're asking about Georgia specifically. And I believe you and your son, Elizabeth, are the two from Georgia that we have. So absolutely, if you can get another person to attend from Georgia, that'd be fantastic. Feel free to shoot me an email, Elizabeth T. Gately at braintumor.org, or give me a call, and we'll go ahead and get someone registered if you can find someone. That's great. Thank you. Bill asks, are there any security considerations we need to know about? David, a typical security, no weapons, nothing flammable.
You just have to, the security is not like going through airport security, but you will be going through a metal detector. And so I usually have to take off my belt. I have to empty my pockets. I have to, I think even things like a pocket knife would be frowned upon. But security is taken very serious on Capitol Hill for obvious reasons. And but I don't know of anything especially unique that's going on those days. 3 years ago, there was a foreign leader that was in town the day of Head to the Hill, but I don't think we have that kind of situation this time around.
Janice and Mike asked, should we bring our laptops or will our smartphones be enough? I would, I guess that's a personal preference, Janice and Mike, but I would say the lighter the load, probably the better walking around. There's no need for your laptop in meetings or throughout the day, so I would recommend just your smartphone just for your own sake, but you're more than welcome to bring your laptop, of course.
And if you're coming in from out of town, you'll be able to leave your luggage at the United Methodist building there, and it'll be secured. So if you bring your laptop just for personal reasons, then you still don't need to bring it onto the Hill. You can leave it with your luggage in the United Methodist building.
Great.
I'm not sure.
My mom is running the Race for Hope with me on Sunday. She is visiting from Canada. Is it possible for her to attend Head to the Hill with me as well if she wants to? I'll be representing DC.
I think that would be okay. I think just bring her with you, and if you'll be representing DC, just smile and tell Representative Eleanor Holmes Norton's staff that your mom's with you, and I think it'll be no problem.
That's great.
Tyler, can you hear me?
From Elizabeth, will we meet with Senate and representatives at the same time or two separate meetings?
That's going to be separate meetings. And just a note on that. Right now, the House of Representatives, during the time of Head to the Hill, the House of Representatives will be in recess. And so for the most part, you're going to be meeting with senior staff persons of members of the House of Representatives. But the U.S. Senate is going to be in session. So you'll be either meeting with U.S. senators themselves or their staff. Now, every year, most meetings are with the staff, and then we take every measure possible to what they call bump up your meeting to the member level. So you're meeting directly with the elected official. Because we tie Head to the Hill to after the Race for Hope DC, which is such a signature event, every once in a while there'll be the senator of the House that's not in session during this time. This year it happens to be the House, but meeting with the staff is really critically important because they're the ones helping the member make the decisions. The Senate will be in session, like I said, but you're always going to have separate meetings with over on the Senate side of the Capitol, in the Senate office buildings, Hart, Dirks, and Russell, or in the House of Representatives office buildings, Cannon, Longworth, and Rayburn.
That's great. Bill asked, what about IDs, driver's license or passports? Bill, driver's license will suffice, so I wouldn't worry about bringing your passport unless you prefer to use that. Brian asked, will we be able to audio record our meetings?
That's not possible, but take notes and go from there. But I typically these meetings are not audio recorded.
Great. Luis asks, will there be an opportunity to meet other advocates from your home state before the meetings? Illinois. There will be, Louise. For you, we do have a state lead advocate, Holly Hoska, who's in Illinois, and you'll be receiving an email from her. And for the states that do not have state lead advocates, we encourage people throughout the day of training to engage with each other, engage during the reception, and meet up afterwards to get to know each other better and how you can all support each other and share the message and continue advocacy beyond Head to the Hill. That's a great question. Thank you. From Stephen, I live in California where my brain tumor was diagnosed. My mother died of a brain tumor in Rhode Island. Do I stay with my own congressional representatives, or is it better to join a team from a smaller state?
Well, if you've registered with your California address, then you're a Californian and will be part of that California delegation. Now, if you have a relative or have your family is still in Rhode Island, then perhaps you could join the Rhode Island delegation and maybe go to both of those meetings. But why don't we talk about that once you get to Head to the Hill, and we'll see what makes the most sense. But right now you're registered as a Californian. Absolutely.
All right. Any more questions? We got one from iRiddle, I hope. If not, I apologize, iRiddle. Feel free to shoot me an email with the correct pronunciation. Is there anyone from North Dakota coming? there is not anybody from North Dakota attending. But if you know anyone, please send them our way. It's not too late. We can get them in. We could use a North Dakota. From Bill, anyone driving from the Herndon Reston area want to carpool? Bill, that's a great question. I appreciate you bringing that up, because I should have mentioned those are great questions for our Head of the Hill Facebook event page, which you can find by going to braintumor.org and then looking at Head of the Hill. And then there's a link there to the Facebook event, and I would post that there and allow folks to conversate, because it's very well maybe someone is I know we do have other people from your area coming, so that's a great question. Thank you. Kay Burns asks, anyone else from Maine? We do have 5 people coming from Maine, and one of them is one of our staff members, Chris Knight, who's very experienced at doing this, so she will be with the Maine delegation. Anyone from New Hampshire coming? New Hampshire's got a healthy contingency as well. Yep, absolutely. Thanks, Sean, for that question. We got 5 from New Hampshire. Any other questions?
This
Can you
state,
hear me?
just a plug for Race for Hope DC. Of course, many of you know about Race for Hope, but if you're coming from out of town and are not familiar with Race for Hope, it's a walk-run event in Washington DC the weekend before Head to the Hill. It's a terrific event. There's probably close to 10, 11,000 people will be at Freedom Plaza in downtown Washington beginning at by 8 a.m. Sunday morning, May 3rd. It's not too late to register for that event and get involved in some way. So feel free to go to our website, braintumor.org, and look for events and look for Race for Hope DC. And then we thank many of you who are going to Race for Hope and then also coming to Head to the Hill. It's just a great series of brain tumor community-related events all at one time, and we very much thank the Shaken family for giving birth to the Race for Hope DC years ago, and to everyone involved in that event.
Janice and Mike asked, how many people from New York? We have 9 people from New York, so that's really great. We appreciate everyone coming from New York. All right, we have a couple more minutes. Any questions? And again, for those on the phone, feel free to reach out to me at 617-612-6661 or T. Gately at braintumor.org. Robin asks, how many from Ohio? We have 3 coming from Ohio. How many from Mass? We have 16 people coming from Mass. Thanks, Stephen, for that question. You're welcome. That's great. And anyone else, that's interested in knowing their state numbers and how many people are coming, feel free to reach out to me as well, and I'll be happy to follow up with an email and let you know. Elizabeth says, I'm a picture fanatic. Where do you prefer your photos, Twitter, Facebook? Who do I defer to PR photos? Yeah, we'll have Stephen LaFawn is our director of media marketing. He will be on hand at Head to the Hill. His email is slafond. I think I can type that here to you at braintumor.org. And any questions related to photography or social media, he's the person to contact. And again, he will be a part of the training and on hand and super helpful. So he'll be a resource for that. Hey, Judith asked if we can have your cell phone for questions and problems during the event. I will share that with you, Judith. When you get to the when we get the packet in DC, all of our staff will have their cell phone numbers on there for you to contact. So that's a great question. All right. I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up unless there's any more questions. Again, please feel free to reach out to me. I know I've talked with many of you and enjoy talking with many of you and learning about you coming to Head of the Hill. So we really appreciate everyone dedicating their time We know everyone has busy lives, and we appreciate the effort that you're going to put forward here. When will you send these slides out? Beth, thanks for that question. We hope to do it by tomorrow. We'll hopefully get this uploaded to the website, and we'll go ahead and get the recording out as well. But it could be early next week, but everyone who's attending will receive an email with that information. And you're welcome, Lise. Thank you very much for your time, and please feel free to contact us anytime. Thanks very much, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.